Mark, thank you for joining the Amplified Leader today. And before we talk about MindStream Energy, I'd like people to understand the person behind it. You've accumulated 40 years of executive experience across different industries. What were some moments in that journey that ultimately prepared you to build what you're building today?
First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure to join you on this program and to have an opportunity to share my history as a leader and also what I'm doing today with MindStream Energy. Just looking back over my 40 plus years of experience, a lot of that work started very early on with General Motors Corporation. I actually started in the factory working afternoons and nights and going to finishing college during the day for the first few years and worked my way up through the General Motors organization. I had over 10 jobs in 13 years, and I sat on the boards of about 25 to 30 automotive operations, helping guide the automotive general managers who were then became dealers to buy our interest out and succeed. Probably one of my most enjoyable was going to work at AutoNation. We ultimately grew the company from 250 million to 20 billion in 3 years. And I had a very key role in helping to develop that. It was a wonderful opportunity and it really was inspiring. And I then decided to put some time into charter school education and urban inner city and at-risk dropout education. We became the largest at-risk dropout high school granting a state-recognized diploma in the U.S. Ultimately, I took a small organization, built it into over 22,000 students and over 2,000 educators. And I was fortunate in my first 5 years of that, we graduated over 8,000 high school students with a state-recognized diploma, many of whom also had a job. And that was great because we saw young people that were otherwise believed to be uneducatable when in fact the system was the problem, not the student. And we developed a great educational model. It was incredibly successful. I had over 16,000 at-risk dropout students in our schools at any given time. We were working in 7 states. I finished that. I went on and developed another one in Florida with about 8 schools and another 5,000 students. That was my give back years, wanting to help young people and utilizing technology as well to educate students at their level, their pace, and under their control. And that's everything to students that don't fit in the traditional model of education. It was a really exciting opportunity. And I've gone on then to develop a number of other companies, working in automotive, working in technology, working in building, construction, and so on. It's been a long road here, but a great road. I'm very blessed to have 2 great sons, one of which is now my president, chief operating officer of MindStream Energy. Very talented young man who's 36 now and a really bright future for him. And I also have the blessing of having been married for 42 years with a lovely wife. I cannot claim the success on my own. My success is both from my family and my faith. That's a little bit of background. I hope not too much.
It's perfect. Thank you so much. They say behind every man is a successful woman, but I usually say beside every man, there's a fantastic, exceptional, successful woman. And this is exactly what you exemplify. As a leader.
Yeah, my wife has been a great partner, a great counselor. She balances me. And I couldn't say enough about her. She's a beautiful woman on many levels, and she's been a great mother to our son and somebody who's endured a lot as I've gone through all these different roles and jobs and changes. She's always been there, and so I can't thank her enough. Has a very strong faith, which is important to our family as well. Yes, I'm incredibly blessed, and I think that's what allowed me to achieve some of the things that I've been fortunate to do.
Thank you so much. Was there a particular failure, success, or even turning point that fundamentally changed how you lead?
I think the greatest professional experience I had was the AutoNation experience because we were able to do things that the industry absolutely opposed initially. The auto industry was made up of merely individual dealers, and manufacturers were not particularly welcoming in the beginning years of having a superpower uh, that had the wherewithal, the capability, and we put together over 400 dealership franchises, and we reshaped markets. We did things that never had been done before. And I think both it showed me, number one, what you can do. So I have really a solid belief in you can build and build big fast if you know what you're doing and you're willing to bring the right people to the team and empower them. And so I really become a leader that gets up every day and asks my people, what's standing in your way of accomplishing what you need to today that I can help you with? That is my sole responsibility, along with engagement of people that are interested in what we're doing. I love people and I love to get to know people, and I am happy to see where there's an opportunity that we can have a win-win situation. And then I bring those people to the team and we then develop them into greater opportunities collectively.
Thank you so much. With over 40 years of experience, both from a family head standpoint, but more so important from a leader of a company standpoint, what do you understand about building companies today that you wish you understood 20 or even 30 years ago?
Well, I guess the simplest answer would be I wish we were all born old and became younger. That would be the best and most successful way to live life. A lifetime of experiences, I think, teaches you a lot about people. People are at the core of everything we do, the difference between success and failure. Picking the right people, also working with people that have a common vision with you. I believe that I've had the best success with building teams of people that understand the vision of what we're trying to accomplish, are prepared to put the time and effort and energy into it, and also have both a business and a personal life that's in balance. And I think that is one of the things that's really important. I've also, at times, I found it difficult to deal with people that were having serious personal problems in their personal life. And while I've tried to always make space when I ran into that, it seldom ever worked out the way anyone hoped. I've learned that where we can identify people that sort of have a balance of life, have a focus on what it is they want to accomplish, and are prepared to put the commitment into it. In addition to that, I think it's extremely important that people are honest, have a high level of integrity, and are people that treat other people properly and respectfully and professionally. Those are some of the things over the years that I've really come to see. Personality is important, but also integrity and really the foundation of how that person both treats people internally, externally, because they're always our representative. They're the face of who we are. They are the brand in so many words.
Thank you. I mean, you touched every single point that I resonate with. Has your definition of leadership changed over time?
That's a great question. I think that I've become more of a servant leader over time, recognizing that that's where I probably can contribute the most. I've read a quote not too long ago, which really reminded me that sometimes the best thing that I can do is ask the questions rather than give the specific advice. And I really thought that is the fundamental benefit I can generally bring, is really to ask the right questions, to open the conversation, and to bring about a collection of ideas and thoughts that eventually can coalesce around how do we go forward. And I think that's always better than just telling people, hey, this is what we want to do. We're more effective if we are patient enough to let people work through an issue. And then we understand also, while they're working through the issue, what concerns they may have. And I don't want to glance over this. I want to address those so that they don't walk out saying, oh, yes, Mr. Thimmig, thank you very much. We'll go do that, but actually not really have their questions answered and be fully committed. I think that's probably where I have the most pleasure of being a leader, is being a servant leader more than just a commander in chief, so to speak.
Very good. Thank you. I often hear the expression leading from behind, and this exemplify that really.
Precisely, yes.
I read something on your website. It says build compute where the energy exists. And you've used this very interesting phrase. What does it mean when you did realize that energy, not simply chips or data center, could become one of the major constraints on the growth of AI?
Well, first of all, thank you for picking up on that, because that is the fundamental question today. We're at a time in our history that we've never seen before, which is the acceleration of artificial intelligence at a speed that no other development in our history, I think, has ever moved at this rate. And it's not a bubble, because where I see AI going is that it'll be integrated into so many things we do, medical technology, education, etc., so that you don't have to be an expert in AI, but you'll be using AI. And obviously there'll be people that are using Chat, GPT, and Claude and others as well, but the majority of people will never even realize they're using AI. That's how much growth opportunity is there. What we do in our model, for example, in El Risha, Jordan, and by the way, for those who may not be familiar with El Risha is the gas field where the natural gas is produced in the country of Jordan. We have been allocated 245 acres in that El Risha gas field. It's close to the Iraq border, but a protected site. That's where the energy is generated, the natural gas. And so we're coming to the natural gas field because our model, which is different from the traditional hyperscaler. The traditional hyperscaler is building a massive building and then trying to connect the energy to them. Yeah. We go to the energy and we have a full modular capability. In our particular case, all of the things that U.S. data centers are struggling with today, we have none of those problems. We will build to the scale of demand. As our energy scales and we get more energy on a quarterly basis from the gas field, as that scales up, we also can scale the kind of compute. What's really important too is that because we're using containerized data centers that will be built and equipped to the specifications of the off-taker, of the user. They'll be built in a factory with the compute, with exactly what they want, brought to our site, delivered to us. These are 40-foot style shipping containers that are specially made with full water recirculation and cooling, everything inside them. And we can have those built and delivered within 3 to 4 months of taking that order. We can scale not ahead of ourselves, but in line with what the demand is. Instead of building a 500,000 square foot building, taking years to do it, requiring massive permits and construction, things being done on site, which then have to be a whole nother verification group. Everything we do is in the factory, it's consistent, and then it's exactly to the specifications, and it's exactly the time that the end user needs it, and will scale according to that. And those things make it a very capital efficient, very energy efficient in all ways, shapes. And it's a model that I can take anywhere in the world and put that model down because it's all modular. We have all the relationships, all the suppliers. And so we can implement that model in virtually any other country. And we're power agnostic, but they don't have natural gas. They have grid, they have wind, they have solar. They have hydro. All we need is the power source, and we can put the application at the power source. We don't have to have the power source come to us.
It's really probably the most comprehensive data center self-sufficient power oriented that I've actually come across so far. Tell me a little bit about the water constraint because in most data center, we keep hearing that there's a problem with water. And you mentioned
Yes.
in the desert, you're able to still have a self-contained water supply.
Yeah. It's a very big issue in the U.S., sometimes misunderstood, quite frankly. You make a really important point, and it's why we're doing what we're doing. We're in the desert. So what we've chosen to do is utilize containerized data center modules that actually have a full recirculation model within that container. We don't need to use water other than when we first put a water and a liquid cooling solution together in there. We also have what's called immersion cooling. We work with a company called GRC, which is one of the top companies in the world that has developed immersion cooling. And that's essentially a big container, a bath, so to speak, where the chips are put into that fluid, which is a water and oftentimes a fluid provided by someone like Shell Oil that produces this. And those chips are cooled in that solution. And that container itself only needs standard room temperature for that unit to sit in. Once again, we are impervious to the heat issues that we find in the desert, and we can provide that without utilizing water. The only water we actually need is for our camp, is for eating, showering, and toiletry purposes. And that's just a storage tank of some water that a truck would bring in and put there. And that's a very small usage. And that's just for our people. We don't otherwise use any other water. And that goes on indefinitely. That's another thing that we don't have as an issue that unfortunately a lot of data centers are having to defend themselves. And actually, there's quite a bit of pushback right now. And we're seeing states, surprisingly, even Texas here, where restraints are being put on data centers. New York, there's a restraint on data centers. We're very fortunate. We have none of those problems or issues in our data center opportunities.
Thank you so much. You focused on an energy first approach so that you can change the economics of your business. How has this been so beneficial for you?
Well, I think one of the things in the data center space, there's two approaches that people have had. One is, let me find customers who may want to buy something and a place to put it first, and then I'll try to get an energy deal done. And the other is our approach, which is, let's lock down the energy agreement first and know what we have, what it's going to cost, and put that together along with the land at the energy location. And then we go talk to the hyperscalers and the neo clouds about we're available, we're here, call us, reach out to us, and we're happy to talk to you about what we can offer you. We think that's a better approach. I've spent over a year developing my relationships with the Jordanian government. I was very fortunate to have met the King of Jordan in Austin, Texas, in 25 with his royal court and his U.S. ambassador, Her Excellency Dina Kowar. Wonderful people. And we have been working to achieve the King's vision to bring Jordan into a competitive AI data center capability for the region. The King and his royal court and the ministers, and they've given us access to an incredible piece of land that is secure and where the source of energy is. We're extremely blessed for that. And we can't say enough good things about the Jordanian government at all levels. And their staffs have been incredibly welcoming. But we're really blessed with that.
Thank you so much. Now, if I were a business owner and I knew a little about energy infrastructure, and if I understood some mention of AI, how would you explain the benefit of using a company such as yourself as opposed to any other traditional data center company?
Well, I think we offer four things: dedicated energy, modular development, customer-driven infrastructure, and scale without waiting. Those are the four fundamental principles that we offer. And then in each of those principles, there's a story behind each one. Dedicated energy is extremely important to understand on a couple levels. One, how much do you have? How can you scale it up? And what is the cost? And then with respect to modular deployment, that's all about being able to put on at the site of energy exactly what is needed, exactly when you need it. And that is a short lead time opportunity. When it comes to the customer-driven infrastructure, it's sort of like buying a car. You go buy a car, and years ago, you used to order the car, and you'd order the car with the options you wanted on the car. What we can offer somebody is, okay, what are the options that you would like? What are you going to do with this AI? And we're very fortunate. We have a partner called Coca-Cola that will sit with our senior vice president of sales, ask the customer, what is it that you want to do with this AI? What are the functions you want the AI to perform for you or your organization? And then we can tell you what the best chips are, the best compute is, so that you're not spending too much or too little, and you're buying what you need. That's really customizing the infrastructure for each customer. And then finally, scale without waiting. Because of the strategic relationships that we've put together, which is a whole book of opportunities for our customers that covers a wide range of things, we can deliver a solution within months of where their specifications sit. And the only thing we have to be sensitive to is making sure that there are no restrictions on some of those chips on the higher end, depending on what country we might be servicing.
Yes.
And so because we have a company called Orange, Jordan, Orange is one of the biggest telecommunication companies in the world as well. They were founded in Paris.
Okay.
And they will be our digital telecommunications provider. And they also have access to submarine cables that can provide low latency connectivity to anywhere in the MENA region, to Europe, to India. We could provide AI data center services to multiple countries around the world because we have that fiber optic low latency through a global company that we can deliver that.
You recently announced a 400 megawatts capacity. What have you found that has been overlooked by other companies in terms of the competitive advantage for you?
I think a lot of the pushback that many data centers have over their water, their location, their land use, their noise, etc. We have none of those issues. That's one of the most important things. The second is that we have a very supportive government who is both very interested in our project. Also, we're aligned with the King of Jordan's objective, what his objective is for the country of Jordan to stand out, just like the United States wants to stand out as an effective strategic country when it comes to AI and its capabilities. Because one of the things that is so important about AI for many of the countries in the MENA region where Jordan is, in many cases have older operating processes and practices, and sometimes too many gatekeepers. And by bringing AI into these processes, and particularly what we call sovereign AI, which means we can create the cloud in Jordan that is exclusive to Jordan. When it comes to their military operation, their government operations, where they want to make sure that everything stays within their country cloud as opposed to being somewhere else in the world, we can provide that capability as well. I think Jordan offers us that opportunity to really collaborate with many aspects of the government and private industry as well to deliver both a sovereign solution, but also deliver things that are going to accelerate their advancement as a country, as a business, as education, as medical institutions, and so on.
Thank you. This is a good term, sovereign AI. Have you noticed that yourself?
Absolutely. And that is a very important thing, particularly in the Middle East. These countries certainly have an outstanding relationship with the U.S., and Jordan does in particular, but other countries in the region do as well. But they want to be able to stand on their own as well. And they have their own technology that need to remain in their country. And we've observed some government workers were not even able to use certain applications because they're in the cloud, and the cloud is outside of the country. for security purposes, that's also something that keeps them from being as efficient and effective as they could be. So sovereign AI serves many purposes. It can be completely customized for the needs of a country in a way that sometimes the broader cloud may not be able to meet those expectations. Now, we can also be a backup for a hyperscaler in another country where there may be security concerns. What if something happens to my hyperscale center in Saudi or somewhere else in the region? Maybe I should have some backup capabilities. So for high-level customers that I cannot afford to go down, I've also got a partner sitting in another location that may not be impacted by a situation that occurs in that particular country. We can also serve a hyperscaler or a neocloud provider in that regard as well.
Thank you. How important is access to domestic natural gas?
Well, I think it has a very high level of importance because it also affects the cost. And AI data centers amongst the lowest in the world. And that makes it viable for our hyperscalers that, or neoclouds or any customer, because we can offer better pricing on that level. And that's incredibly important. And not only is it important for us to have access to the gas, but because of our location and because of the gas we're receiving, we don't have to recondition that gas. It is clean gas coming in, and it'll work efficiently on our generators from day one. There's lower costs across the board by having quality gas at the source.
Thank you. Why Al-Risha?
Al-Risha, for a couple of reasons. One, it is where the gas is produced. And it also is a secure location. We benefit because Jordan has been a very secure and close ally of the United States. And so Al-Risha represents a number of those benefits. And there was land available that puts us near the source. It's also land that if we want to, we can take part of our 245 acres and allocate some acreage, maybe 100 acres, and put a solar farm on a portion of it and add another 25 megawatts to our capability and continue focusing on green. We're also in conversation with a global company that does carbon capture, and we're evaluating the prospect of carbon capture from our generators and from the Al-Risha site to further our approach in green energy, which we think is appealing and important to a lot of companies that might want to work with us.
Thank you so much. A project like that, with such a strategic place, and even now the possibility of having carbon capture, what would this mean for Jordan?
Thank you. I've got to tell you, it's a pleasure to have this conversation with you. First of all, small data center, I think it's only less than 12 megawatts, and it's more of a traditional data center, not an AI data center in the country. We will be the first and absolutely most comprehensive AI data center capability in the country. And because we're essentially acquiring at this point the excess gas the country is really producing, there really isn't another place for anyone else to come into the country. I think we're going to remain as the exclusive AI data center just by merely the fact of what energy is available. We'll remain that for quite a number of years. And it's so important for Jordan to be able to have this capability to remain the kind of strategic partner throughout the region on so many levels.
And that brings a point, because he talked about reconstruction, we talked about infrastructure. Are we moving toward a world where compute capacity becomes strategically important as much as energy infrastructure has historically been?
I think we are moving to a point where if countries are going to support their populations, be efficient, and manage their country economically, that AI can play a significant role in helping them achieve those objectives. And I think it's one of the greatest innovations that has occurred. We don't even know the full potential of it yet.
Amazing.
And I think the integration with robotics is going to be in itself a whole nother level of development when you teach one robot something that can teach 1 million robots the same thing real time. We've never seen anything like that before. So robotics is a really fascinating and upcoming component. Space technology is also going to be very interesting as well. There are so many industries that can benefit in an integrated fashion with the capabilities that AI can bring forward, that it's going to be exciting to see.
Thank you so much. Now, I know that you are the CEO and now you have your son as well at the helm. What are the 2 or 3 biggest execution challenges between where MindStream is today and where you ultimately want the company to be?
Great question. We move in my organization at an accelerated pace, and we use AI extensively. And our biggest challenge is working with other organizations that move at a different pace. We want to work with investors that are ready to move. And one of the things that we represent for an investor is that because I own 100% of the company and I am the board of directors, those who want to come and be there first with the right proposal are going to get the best deal because I don't have to consult anyone else. And I can make a deal that works for them and works for us and works for our customers. We have all of the things that an investor would like to see, which is power. So this is a really unique opportunity. It's an exciting time. And I'm all about whoever is first to the race is going to win the race.
Thank you so much. Obviously, we know that infrastructure at this scale is inherently capital intensive. And you talked about investors. What type of strategic investors or partner are best fit?
Great question. I think the kind of investors we're looking for first raises 100 million, which is a small number because we can scale to demand and because we built an incredibly efficient system to begin with. Literally 95 of the investment goes into tangible assets. And that is not always the case when you get into a hyperscaler. You've got a whole lot of stuff, your building design, your architectural, your permitting, your all these other expenses that are really not tangible assets in the same way that generators and containers and compute and camp operations and so on are. We built our model around being able to tell an investor, your money is actually going into tangible assets, first and foremost. There's a very small number that goes into insurance and other things that have to be part of what we do here. I think in that way, we're unique. We have some discussions with hyperscalers, both in the US and in the region. We have independent investors that are really looking to be in this space and want to be with a good partner that understands how to turn one level of energy into a whole different level of economics. And that's really at the end. When you take natural gas and instead of getting the typical return on natural gas, you get a technology return on natural gas, that's exciting. And that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you so much. Now, when it comes to gaining opportunities, if you could deploy an AI system tomorrow that eliminate one major bottleneck inside MindStream, that would help as well when it comes to your economy of scale. What would you want this AI system to solve?
Boy, I got to tell you, we are benefiting so much from AI right now. And I use a multitude of AI systems. I use Grok and ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity and others because each one tends to have its strengths.
Thank you. At this stage of your career, really what motivates you to tackle something so ambitious and difficult as energy-backed AI infrastructure?
Well, I would say a couple of things. This isn't the biggest challenge I've ever had in my career,
Wow.
which is interesting. But beyond that, one of the things that I liked about the country of Jordan is they're very much a family organization or country where father brings on son, son perpetuates the family name, so to speak. I'm very much a family man as well. I want my son to have the most interesting opportunity. I want to spend the next 3 years coaching, helping, developing him before I take the last 2 and be Mr. Chairman and call me when you need me, son. That's where I think we're going to have the most fun together. And I love spending time building something with my own son and my own family. It's a real pleasure. And when we disagree and we argue with love, not aggression. And so that's great because he has his own unique personality. I have mine, and yet we can come together on things and work through them. For me, it's probably one of the most enjoyable periods of my life.
It's very beautiful hearing this. You're leaving a legacy not only from a family standpoint and a business standpoint, but you're also leaving a legacy about MindStream. What is exactly the legacy you'd like to create when we hear this name?
Well, I think we want to carry through the slogan that you mentioned early on. We can bring compute where energy exists. And I think we can bring solutions. And I think that where we can help organizations and even countries to achieve things that make life better for people. I think that was one of the things when I was involved in education and charter school education in particular, and working with at-risk dropout students and so on, was literally having that opportunity to help people become all they could be. And in my office, one of the company I reconstituted in Florida for this purpose, I named it Mavericks in Education. I looked at those dropout students as not people that were throwaway kids. They were mavericks. And I worked with my wife to identify some of the greatest mavericks of all time. And we had plaques made up that lined our walls with the pictures and the stories, what they did. And many of them did not have a college education. They were inventors, they were creators, they were people that changed the world. And so I think if we could help facilitate with AI and with the things that we do in countries that are around the world, we can be more impactful than anywhere that I could imagine spending the latter years of my life.
It's very nice. So look, 10 years ahead, what would you have to happen for you to say we've accomplished what we set out to do?
I think if MindStream is supporting potentially millions of people through the technology services that we can deliver, that would be an enormous success.
Oh, very noble. Thank you. Now, I have a rapid fire to close. One leadership lesson that you learned the hard way.
Trust is a key component of leadership and commitment. Trust and commitment.
Trust and commitment. One technology that you believe is being underestimated right now.
I think we're going to see extraordinary things come out of space technology and even nuclear technology and small reactors that can change the world as well.
Very visionary, especially the space technology. Thank you. One characteristic you look for immediately when deciding whether you want to do business with someone.
First of all, I look at how responsive they are. If we start communicating and they're engaged and they are prompt, I'm interested. And that's really important to me because I'm moving at a speed. And if they can't move at my speed, I can't do business with them.
And one thing about the future of AI that genuinely concerns you.
I think what concerns me in AI are what has happened recently, where some AI got out of the sandbox and started doing things on its own. And that is very dangerous. And I think it's dangerous, particularly in military technology. And I think we have to be extremely mindful of how to have controls, how to be able to shut it down if it does get out, but how to recognize it got out quickly. We not only have to know it got out, but what to do about it and do about it fast before it does enormous damage.
Some talk about a kill switch, but it's going to be hard when there's multiple agents going on all around the world.
Yeah, I think a kill switch for this is underestimates the real power. This is not a switch you're going to flip, especially not something that can already have defeated the switch you had put in place to begin with.
That's true. Lastly, one thing about the future of AI that makes you incredibly optimistic.
I think that one of the greatest areas of AI that I'm most excited about is medical technology. The opportunity for it to make medical discoveries that are going to save lives, that are going to improve lives, that are going to accomplish cures in so many different areas that have debilitated people. I think that's one of my greatest hopes, where AI can truly make a difference. I think it's also going to make a great difference in education. And I think colleges are very concerned about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because where young people are capable, they probably will be more interesting as employees than somebody who just comes out of a college with a degree. I'd rather have someone who's learned how to use AI and make them 10 times more proficient than I would just somebody who comes out of a college with a particular degree. I think they're going to become incredibly valuable.
That's absolutely true. So definitely you are an open-minded man. Mark, thank you for joining me on the Amplify Leader. What I found particularly interesting about your story is that when most people talk about the AI revolution, they talk about models, chips, and software. But MindStream is approaching the problem one layer deeper. Before intelligence can be computed, something has to power it, and you do so. And the leaders who figure how to use energy, infrastructure, intelligence to fit together, they may ultimately help determine where the next generation of computing gets built. Mark Thimmig, founder, chairman, and CEO of MindStream Energy, thank you for being here.
It's been a true pleasure, and I really can't wait to see your program. It's an amazing program, and I thank you so much for inviting me on here today to talk about MindStream Energy. All the
Thank,
very best to you.
thank you so much.